And I took a group of people to see this new play by this young African-American writer. And it was 1987, August Wilson's Fences. And for the first time as a director, I heard my own people's rhythms and watched their culture unfold on stage.
August Wilson, he spoke for the people of the Hill District, the common person of Pittsburgh as a microcosm, to elevate the lives of African Americans.
Fences is the second play that August wrote from the 10-play grand opus that he created.
Which is a play that is very different than the rest of the other plays, because this play centers around the life of one man.
Before Broadway, Scott Rudin, he sent me the screenplay that August wrote, the only one I think that he wrote. And I realized that I'd seen the play with James Earl Jones, but I hadn't read the play.
And that production had a profound visceral effect on me, and it was like you couldn't control the tears.
I never saw Fences on Broadway. I was a student at Rhode Island College when a teacher of mine was like, "Have you heard of August Wilson?" I think that what August had and what made him brilliant was the spirit to allow people to enter him. You felt that way when you were with him in person, that he saw you. August had an absolute understanding of what it means to be a woman. That was his gift, is a great gift of vulnerability and empathy. So when I found that out, it's like my whole world opened.
So I called Scott and said, I want to do the play. He was like, "You want to do the play?" I'm like, "Yeah."
August passed away in 2005, so this was the first shot at doing something that honored him in his spirit after his death. So I knew I had to get it right.
We were very successful as a play. We cast it with obviously a brilliant cast.
The depth of passion and pain that all the characters went to was beautiful, and the audiences were connecting to the truth and the humanity.
And to be out there with them, especially family play. As you become an ensemble, you become that family.
When you're on stage, we all know you can only be in one place at one time. But that's the beauty of this medium, and to hear the audience's reaction. I didn't think it could get better than that.
It was the most nominated play, I believe, in Tony history.
Denzel won the Tony, and he deserved it. Viola won the Tony, and she deserved it. And the play, which represented all of us, won for Best Revival of a Play. It was one of the proudest moments of my life.
And like other great plays like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet, it can transform or be put up on the screen, and it does stand up. I know that I would have never directed it had I not done the play. To know that we did a production that worked. So I was so committed and excited just to shape the play into a film.
Here we go. The only marker.
When you transform his stories cinematically, you're lifting up the genius of August once again.
Now we get to, let's just see up close how people think and how they feel without it being as presentational as Broadway has to be.
I think that people have an understanding that when you're acting for film, you gotta be understated. August, he writes some understated things, but he writes some things that are very big. And just because it's big doesn't mean it's not honest.
You want to draw that back on me? You're gonna have to kill me.
When you watch a play in a theater, you're seeing everybody who's on the stage at that time at the same time. The idea in cutting the film together was to try to keep that kind of experience alive, but to take advantage of the techniques that you can use in film. We stayed in masters a lot. You couldn't stay in them all the time because some of the performances were so incredible you wanted to go in. But when we did, we tried to keep whoever was in the scene and not on camera alive through reaction shots.
The main thing that we concentrated on in trying to open up the play cinematically was letting the house become a character, letting the backyard become a character, letting the neighborhood become a character.
In front of the house, it's Bedford Avenue. So you've got these nice long shots down the street where you can see the neighborhood. You can have kids playing in the street so we can keep the neighborhood alive.
Denzel wanted to find a street which led to a house, which led to a backyard, all in one, to make it authentic to the Hill District, 1957.
It's like follow shot or a cast walking towards the camera. So it gave the film movement that's not in the play.
For the costumes, I really wanted you to feel that I expanded on the play, but I didn't disrupt the play. Moving off the stage into a realistic setting inspired me to soften the tone of the characters. I never wanted the clothes to speak louder than each of these characters. I really hope people see in this film that they are the middle class and the family struggle, family love, and just being a family.
Denzel never wanted to leave the stage play. So there was an intention to not make it too much of a commercial look, but still making it cinematic. So the challenge turned out to be serving both the play and the film. So the lighting of this movie, the key word was naturalistic, to let the lighting have some kind of impact. But everything was supporting the story.
Hallelujah.
Denzel told me the music was going to have to fight its way into the movie because there is no music originally in this piece.
I missed the death.
This is a piece that is initially designed to be done on stage with no music of any kind. Most standard feature films have about 50% of their running time covered with music. But in a movie like Fences, we have the first cue comes in almost 40 minutes in. Just a crescendo on 14, a little bit less. I mean, the timing is great, just a little bit less, okay? Really, ultimately, its music is always supporting. But I feel like in this case, the words are so deep and so important, and there was so much music in the words. I felt like the score had to really enhance that and support that. Quickly, the piano became the center of the score, and I feel like the piano can sort of modulate emotionally in a way that was very sympathetic with the score and without being too big.
I remember just being amazed and moved. It's how brilliant August Wilson is and how much it does translate to film and how universal the story is.
Don't you go through life worrying about whether somebody like you or not. You best be making sure that they're doing right by you. You understand what I'm saying?
August has given us 100 years of American history, the good and the bad.
For me, it was amazing. It's one of the most memorable opportunities, and it was an amazing experience.
Everything that boy do, he do for you.
Being able to share this incredible man's work with the world is fantastic.
Denzel's matured as a director, and this film shows it without doubt.
I just can't make it go away. It's done now.
When you have a goal and a vision as an African-American artist, if you don't have a physical manifestation of what your dreams are in front of you, then you're not given permission. That's what his legacy has done. It's giving other artists permission to embrace their voices.
It's part of our job, my job, to share him with more people. There's nothing I would rather do other than taking care of August Wilson in the best way that I can.
That's the way that goes. Broadway was magical. And then having our dream team back together to make this film, it's an honor, but it's also a privilege.
Viola Davis, Michael T. Williams, and Russell Hornsby. I'm just telling you, I mean, I'm so proud to be in that ensemble. And it just turned out to be just so much joy.
You got more stories than the devil got sinners.
Because of the incredible material.
With August Wilson, there is a poetry that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Times have changed, Troy. People change. The world changes, and then you can't even see it.
I believe 80% of it is casting, so I just had to get the camera in front of the actors and let them do what they'd been doing all along. We had settled in so much from the play. You know, we know the rhythms of the music, so we're a pretty tight band. Jovan is a new member of the band, but he's a fast learner, as is Sanaya, the young girl, a very fast learner and scene stealer.
When I found out that I was getting to produce this with Denzel, It was such a treat. Then when I found out that it was with the cast that did it on Broadway, it was like I won the lottery. It was incredible.
Everyone in this cast is just an amazing person. And to see them push each other and challenge each other, these actors, they're locked in.
All of those actors, I call them Wilsonian warriors. Denzel brought in the A-team. I'm talking the A-team.
And they all care tremendously. It's the difference between thinking, what can this do for my career? And what can this do for my society, for humanity? How wonderful this is to get this to the people.
Peter O'Toole went to the Oscars 10 times and never won an Oscar. And a lot of people see that as a tragedy. How I like to see it is he had 10 great narratives that brought him to the Oscars. And that's what's missing for actors of color. A lot of times, at our best, we are an image or a social message for something larger. We can't just be human beings just moving through our lives. What I believe August does, studying of human pathology, of how we relate to each other, of how we relate to ourselves.
My brother didn't have a metal plate in his head. I wouldn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and I'm 50.
He has an affection for his characters, and he shows them warts and all, but it's coming from a place of a real appreciation for them, an appreciation for their journey, appreciation for the dues they paid.
I'm gonna go down to Taylor's and
If there are 25,000 words in the screenplay, 24,900 of them are August Wilson's.
Come telling me I was too old. I just wasn't the right color. Hell, I'm 53 years old, can do better than Selkirk's 269 right now.
It's actually something Steven Henderson put me on to, is there's a music to his stories. And all you have to do is just, pay attention to it and really let yourself go into the story.
August's work doesn't leave you. The words, the world, the spirit, the energy, that's the power of August. When you perform it, it stays with you.
$76.22. You see this, Bono? I ain't gonna get but 6 of that back.
I call it the blues iambic because, you study Shakespeare and it's the iambic pentameter, but August has got a blues iambic.
Look, I gotta run. I'll see you all later.
Wait a minute. You gonna say, thanks, Rose, but you ain't gonna look to see where she got that money from. You see how they do me, Bono?
I know she got it from you, Pop. Thanks. I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, you go telling another lie. Time I see that $10, you'll be owing me 30 more.
See you, Mr. Bono.
Take care, Lions.
Thanks, Pop. I'll see you again.
I work with, I think, some wonderful directors, and none any more prepared than Denzel was to do that and deliver an intimate, towering performance.
I couldn't imagine trying to do this having not done it on stage first. And there was no time to be trying to figure out who Troy was when we were shooting the movie.
Everyone in this cast gave 110%. But what was great about watching Denzel and Viola was that you're not going to outwork either one of them.
She's a brilliant, brilliant actress. She came in and blew the socks off of everybody, and I was like, okay, forget about everybody else. I got to keep up with her.
What I really wanted to portray is a marriage that's working, so that when the loss happens, you feel the loss.
Right now, this child's got a mother.
Which is the true indicator of a tragedy.
But you're a womanless man.
And then Steven, it goes back as far back as August. I think he's done all of the plays. And, we had these shots I've used in the film. Just him looking, he doesn't miss much.
Denzel helped us tremendously because much of it was shot in sequence. Because on the stage, you take the whole journey of the play every night. And so then when we went to shooting it, we were closer to the whole journey of the play. And that helped tremendously.
Mr. Bono, how you doing?
Hey, Lions, how you been?
Russell Hornsby, who plays Lyons, He's got a storyline in it. I just think it's just so wonderfully shown here.
You gotta take the crookeds with the straights. That's what Papa used to say.
Sometimes you see a production of the play, you don't get to see just how important that is to the fabric of the story.
I seen him strike out 3 times in a row, and the next time up, he hit the ball over the grandstand. Personally, for me, it's a humbling experience because I started my career saying the words of August Wilson. He had 200 people standing around waiting to shake his hand. To have a role in the major motion picture that is Fences, is one of my first real film roles, saying August's words, that it brings everything full circle. You gotta take the crookeds with the straights.
Michael T, you know, he's all love, he's all spirit. Very strong man, but very sweet.
Hey, Troy.
Hey, Gabe.
August Wilson, his works just elevate your humanity just out of the gate. For me, it was amazing. It's one of the most memorable opportunities that I've actually enjoyed.
What you do that for, Pop?
Jovan Adepo, he just had a naturalness and an honesty. And I was not hard on the young actors, but really wanted to push them around to see if they could handle it, because Jovan and Sanaya, they had to catch up with the rest of us, especially Jovan.
So start maybe in the middle and go up. That's it.
In the beginning, it was incredibly nerve-wracking. I just wanted to do my best to fit in, but really, especially Stephen, Michael T, and Russell, they really took me in as like, young blood, you coming with us? And I was like, yeah, this is awesome. It was great to get to know them and their journey and how they were connected to Fences before the film, and just what the project meant to them. And I'm completely, thankful for that.
What we owe August is to make sure that young artists understand what that contribution is to American culture. You come from a heritage, a rich heritage of survivors, of people who, right here on the scene, went through it all.
I felt like we've completed the journey. We started in 2010, and there was talk of this being a film. And I think for the lion's share of us who were fortunate enough to come back, the journey has been complete.
It was like a beautiful, warm reunion when we all got together, and there have been a lot of laughter and tears on this set just watching these great performers. It's a humbling experience for me to be able to shepherd August Wilson. So I wanted to embrace that and to celebrate that. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to shepherd one of the great American playwrights. This is too important and too big a role to pass. And you better be at the top of your form because it's August Wilson.
Look, boy, the white man ain't gonna let you get nowhere with no football, no way. Now, you get your book learning so you can work your way up at the A&P and learn how to fix cars or build houses and get you a trade. This way you got something can't nobody take away from you.
The material is a masterpiece. I was so determined to make this film, but it's a tremendous undertaking, trying to act in it and direct it. So I had so many hats to wear. As the director, I want everybody to be great.
Ain't talk about baby, you know you always be number one with me. That's what you talking about. What Denzel does best.
That's why I love this woman.
Because Denzel is a great actor, he understands what the narrative needs to be authentic.
Gabe, you all right.
Lying.
The king of the jungle.
You staying for supper, Gabe? You want me to fix it? He assembled the perfect team for that. I think the smartest thing he did was we did the play first. So he knows Troy.
When I was approached to do the 2010 production, Scott Rudin went to Denzel to direct and star in the film at that time. But the greatness of Denzel said, I'm not ready to do the film now. I want to do the play first.
We did it 6 years ago, but I didn't know the material to the degree that I do now, because now I'm invested in all the characters and in the story, not just Troy's story. It took that long for me to get up the confidence or nerve to come to the place where I felt comfortable to say, now we can make the movie.
Answer me when I talk to you. Don't you eat every day?
Yeah.
Nigga, as long as you in my house, you put a sir on the end of it when you talk to me.
Troy is a man who is extraordinarily flawed, but doing the best he can with what he knows.
You a man. Now let's see you act like one. Turn your behind around and walk out this yard. And when you get out there in the alley, you can forget about this house, see? Because this is my house.
It was a tougher time. It was a tougher love. That's the way it was. It's specifically an African-American family, but it's a struggle that's beyond all race or culture.
Now, I don't give you everything I got to give you. I give you your life.
For Denzel, I think Troy already was in his blood. Troy Maxon is not just a garbage collector or father. He's like a King Lear. At the beginning of the film, we're in the backyard and everybody is surrounding him. He's holding court. He's making us fall in love with him. And that whole world is shattered. King Lear in the storm, you know, and he's talking to death and he opens that window.
You ain't gonna sneak up on me no more. When you ready for me, when the top of your list say Troy Maxon, then you come on up and knock on the front door. Ain't nobody else got nothing to do with this. This between you and me.
Working with Denzel on stage, I worked with him on stage twice in another August Wilson play. But Denzel has this incredible freedom that allows him to create so magically.
Oh, nigga, look here. I know you.
And to be welcome and have a place as a character to playing Bono with Troy, it was thrilling.
There's all kinds of truths. Just because I'm the director doesn't mean I know the truth. I'm there to discover like everyone else. So get the best and let them do what they do, and let's see what happens.
I've never seen a director any more prepared than Denzel Washington. Seeing someone with such focus is quite something.
The thing that stuck out to me about the Hill District is we were so warmly embraced when we got there. And it's largely due to Denzel Washington. He actually went before the rest of the company got there and walked the neighborhood and introduced himself door to door to let people know that we were going to be there and we were going to need them. And they treated him and the rest of us like family every single day. That's the kind of leader that Denzel is. He knew that we would need their help, and he knew that we wanted to do only good for them, and he knew that it wouldn't happen unless he brought those two things together. So he set the stage for us.
He made it a commitment knowing what August stood for and, you know, the pressure of bringing a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner to life told honestly and truthfully. Denzel always says, we need to start from a place of love.
That's my brother.
If you wanted to change me, you should have been there when I was growing up. I come by to see you, ask you for $10, and you want to talk about how I was raised? You don't know nothing about how I was raised. It felt like a natural transition for him to go from acting to directing. But it's humbling because you watch Denzel, and he does it with so much grace and with such an ease. At his core, Denzel is an artist.
That's the way that goes.
There would be plenty of days, even when I wasn't working, and I would come to set and watch him, and he would just, there was so much of a workload that he takes on every day. He's the first person on set. I'm getting ready, and he's going through the lines, going through his daily set list. And Denzel was really adamant about he didn't want to do too much coverage if it wasn't necessary, because he wanted to have it to where if there's 2 people in the scene, to have them front and center.
Can I ask you a question?
Without having to do a whole lot of cutting.
Hell, you got to ask me. Mr. Stawicki, the one you got the questions for.
How come you ain't never liked me? I felt it was easy to keep that rhythm because of Denzel's direction.
August had a lot of esteem for Denzel, for sure. I think that August, if he had been on the set, he would have been delighted. He would be over the moon with this film, with the acting, and the great care that not just Denzel put into it, but all the people that made it possible.
You better get out your bank book.
And I swear there were times when I felt like Denzel was channeling August. You know, I would say, oh my gosh, you know, August would have said that line exactly that way.
I done tried all my life to live decent. Suddenly the world got big. It was a long time before I could handle it.
It is now time for this film to reach the world, to reach millions of people.
There's also another generation that may not know who August Wilson is, and they will experience the story, which is so impactful.
I just try to be true to the material and to serve August Wilson as best I can. To be a part of that is an honor, and I take it seriously, and I'm happy to help share his brilliance with the world.
I'll be ready for you. But it ain't gonna be easy.
Jesus, be a fence all around me every day.
Rose Maxon is the wife of Troy, the mother of Corey, the stepmother of Lyons.
It's a hard life, but it's a good life. We see the love, we see the unity, and we see the betrayal. That's what life is.
And when you meet her, she is just beautiful spirit, kind, loving, keeping the family together until she can't anymore.
I think that Viola does a great job of showing us how much she loves Troy. And Rose's position within the family needs to be understood through the lens of 1957. A woman doesn't have as many choices as a man does.
Betty Friedan in the 50s said that women hid behind perfectly applied lipstick and wax floors. They hid their pain, and Rose absolutely encapsulates that.
She kept a beautiful home as best she could, you know, so poor doesn't mean dirty. In fact, poor people scrub what they have harder.
To me, Rose represents the best of us. And if you just follow Rose's through line, you'll find the foundation of us all. That's really the heart and soul of it for me, is Rose is our foundation.
Viola was able to capture the reality of what August Wilson wrote about, of women of a certain time and the love that they gave their families at the expense of themselves.
There are moments in Rose's life where she does make herself small.
What y'all out here getting into?
You worried about what we getting into for, woman? This is man talk.
So there are moments when she just puts up with it.
You ready for breakfast? I can fix you some as soon as I finish hanging up these clothes.
I got the coffee on, that's all right. I'll just have some of that this morning.
She puts up with it until she can't anymore.
No, I don't know how to tell you this.
There's many universal themes in terms of the relationship, you know, Troy and Rose, how a woman stands by her man and how married couples go through ups and downs. That was specific and amazing and universal. And we get an up close and personal view of that.
When we rehearsed that scene, I did everything small.
I'm gonna be your daddy. Yeah, I'm gonna be somebody's daddy.
If you know Denzel, he's very honest. He said, that don't work.
There's no such thing as movie acting, in my opinion. Don't have to be small. Just let me worry about that, and we'll turn the camera, and we'll back up.
And then what clicked for me, what has always clicked for me, I know every moment in my life, the moment that my dad took his last breath, and what my reaction was. Every breath that came out of my mouth. And it's not always small.
Like this.
Stop it now, you ought to know. It's time for you to know.
Well, I don't want to know, goddammit!
Life is like playing an orchestrated piece of music.
That's another thing about Viola. She's able to match the same kind of passion and sentiment and ideas that August wrote about for that scene.
It's not easy for me to admit that I've been standing in the same place for 18 years.
Well, I've been standing with you. I've been right here with you, Troy.
What I think August Wilson gets about women is we're taught to repress what our dreams and what our hopes and what our voice. We're taught to repress our voice.
I gave 18 years of my life to stand in the same spot as you. Don't you think I ever wanted other things? Don't you think I had dreams and hopes? What about my life? What about me?
And when you finally get to the point where life gives you permission, something kicks that voice out of you.
Where I planted myself inside you and waited to bloom. It didn't take me no 18 years to realize the soil was hard and rocky and it was never gonna bloom.
When it finally comes out, I can't think of better words than what comes out of Rose's mouth.
I gave everything I had to try and erase the doubt that you wasn't the finest man in the world, and wherever you was going, I was gonna be there with you because you was my husband. Because that's the only way I was gonna survive as your wife.
The word that just came to my head was power. She's a powerful actor.
She's just completely about the work. I mean, she's completely in character and she's so open Any little question that I may have had between and what we were feeling during that day in the story, anything, any actor question that I could have ever come up with, she was always just like, no, let's sit down and talk about it. This is why we're here. I think it was incredibly beneficial to me as an actor, and I think I've only grown because of that.
Viola digs deep into the terra firma of our ancestors to find their voice, to find their blood, to find their pain, and bring it to life and say, this is for the people who can't speak.
The women who informed my portrayal of Rose is me, my mom. Any woman that I had ever encountered who sacrificed, who gave up a piece of their lives for the greater good.
I wanted a house I could sing in, and that's what your daddy gave me. I didn't know to keep up his strength, I had to give up little pieces of mine.
And there is a huge sense of obligation in creating that, in doing that, in remaining true to that integrity to which August Wilson wrote it.
And if the Lord sees fit to keep up my strength, I'm gonna do her exactly how your daddy did you. I'm gonna give her the best of what's in me.
I think August has been very faithful to Black people. And he gives it a joy, a buoyancy, as well as a tragedy. He gives it a complexity that I feel honors it in absolutely the right way.
The Hill was an important part of August Wilson's screenplays, to tell the story with pictures instead of words. It was more about what not to do. The material was already there. I was just trying to serve August the best I could.
The history of the Hill District, the look of the Hill District, the people, the smells, all of that informs the narrative and captures the bigness of life in the smallest ways.
In the very first meeting I had with Denzel, one of the things that was very, very important to him was to be on location. He wanted for Troy to be able to walk in his neighborhood, walk up to his house, walk through the front door, all the way through the house to the backyard. So we went off to Pittsburgh and started looking for August Wilson's Hill District.
Well, I guess first just to go to where he's from, to go to the source, to his home. I didn't know what the Hill was until I got there and started seeing and meeting the people. Then it became, we have to shoot here. This is their lives. It's a hard life, but there's a lot of joy. It's a real neighborhood feeling.
Denzel really challenged me to keep it as simple and spare as possible. I started with trying to find the neighborhood itself and the street that I felt was enough in period and worked for the scenes. And then I'd find a backyard. Looking for that neighborhood, I noticed a stretch of about half a block of row houses. I thought, well, we'll start knocking on doors. And we found an amazing house with unbelievably beautiful bones and details, and it was all there, sort of incredibly. We did a fair amount of work to the exterior of our hero house, Maxon House, and all the neighboring houses on this block. One of the things I love most about this block is the view down the street looking toward downtown, and the beautiful architecture, the way the buildings stack up. Being in a real space meant that Denzel is going to be able to tell the story, I think, much more authentically and honestly.
The Hill District of Pittsburgh, that community where these stories take place. It was a community of blue-collar people. The struggle and the indignities through the 40s, 50s was the philosophy in August's writing.
The Hill District was this incredible epicenter of culture, of talent. But redevelopment started there at the end of the 50s, early 1960s, and pretty much half the Hill District was demolished and replaced. The house where August grew up is sort of right, pretty much at the cusp of that. All that is gone now.
I cannot tell you how emotional I got. When Denzel led me through the house, I was almost in tears. I walked through the front door and I'm thinking, this is Troy Maxon's house. It was the whole world. So not only was it August Pittsburgh, it's August's world of fences.
Now, what he look like getting mad because he see the man from the union talking to Mr. Rain?
He come up to me talking about, Troy Maxson gonna get us fired. I told him, get away from me with that. To get the chance to film in the Hill District, to know that he must have walked through those same streets, and to meet people who knew him, to know how much he meant to that community, you're really informed and strengthened to do your best work.
Ain't nobody gonna walk no 200 miles, Pop. Shit, damn if I wouldn't have hitched a ride with somebody. Being committed to shooting in Pittsburgh, to shooting in the Hill, that adds another level and dimension of authenticity that you can't get on a soundstage. I felt the energy and the spirit of the Hill, being able to see all the streets that are mentioned in his plays. You absorb that, and it just gave me another sense of purpose.
I love the way the streets are narrow, the way the houses are shaped, the tight spaces. All of that informs how we interact with each other as actors, and it becomes another character.
Where you going?
I'll be right back.
When?
I'm just going right down the street. When we were shooting there, the people felt very protective of fences.
I'm an actor first, and I know how I felt as an actor. You know, you get there and feel that energy, the taste in the city. You know, in order to know where you're going, you gotta know where you came from. Knowing history is a big part of it.
Denzel actually found a beautiful photograph by Teenie Harris that showed a building downtown with a painted advertisement for Clark Bars, which is a Pittsburgh original candy bar. So we catch little glimpses of it from the backyard, and you can imagine that that's the corner market.
Teenie Harris, great photographer from the Hill. He'd take one shot. He said he'd let all the other photographers work and they'd run it around and he'd find the best place and then he'd get right there. And he was known for popping the bulb out of the camera and catching it in his pocket.
Because all of our storefronts were based on photographs of Wiley Avenue that Teenie Harris had taken. We did a bit of an homage to him with a Pittsburgh Courier storefront, which was where he worked. We faithfully recreated the neighborhood that August grew up in. It came with sort of a lot of searching and a lot of adjusting to make it authentic to 1957. But I think it's led to some beautiful choices and a beautiful way of telling the story.
This is a Hill story written by a man from the Hill about people from the Hill. This was their home and he's their hero. That's why we had to be here.